The author has a background in astrophysicism. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a single book review of Plenum by Jeffrey Jen Edwards. It's quite an interesting cover. It's a sci-fi, clearly, from 2022 from Untitled Books, which is a small press. So I received this book from the author in exchange for a fair review. So thank you very much for this. I really enjoyed it. Plenum is a deep, complex, and fascinating sci-fi speculative fiction. It balances complicated topics with an elegiac prose that serves to simplify the philosophical and often existential questions that it raises. So what is it about? First of all, plenum, the word, has a couple of meanings, but in this case I think it's referring to plenum as a space or all space, every part of which is full of matter. So this fits with the story quite well, so I'm assuming that's where the title comes from, but if not, I apologize for misleading you. So here's the plot. Vanu Francoeur is a gender-neutral novice in the kinship of the suffering god, whose mandate is to seed new stars within a stellar nursery, where Jonahs, living ships descended from the whales of old Earth, roam wild. An intimate encounter with an exotic outsider stirs a storm of conflicts within the usually quiet religious order and triggers a spiritual awakening of Vanu that forever changes her relationship, her community, and her Sibs. In rebellion against the kinship's heavy-handed sanctions, she hurtles towards a resolution, touched by a haunting mystery, deep within the fires of a star. So yeah. This is book 1 of 15, I believe, from what I remember, from the acknowledgments at the end. And there are 3 stories within the kind of series running parallel, or they're connected somehow. So that's ambitious. That being said, the book isn't entirely able to stand on its own. The hints as to a broader universe serve just as much as background or setting as it does strings to attach this book to further novels. Before we get into the review itself, I just want to have a bit of a disclaimer here that this book deals with a lot of religious stuff. I am not religious, and to be honest, I have no patience or interest in theology, unless it's like the Greek gods, because they're funny. I am a very hardcore atheist, in fact, and even discussing religion makes me pretty much zone out. I just don't care. I have no problem with people being religious, you know, everyone has a right to do that, and that's fine. I don't really care what other people do. It's just not my deal. So for me to say that I really enjoyed this novel despite the heavy religious focus is a big compliment to the author and to the novel. So basically this book is set so far in the future that different full-blown societies have developed based on what I'm presuming are religious exoduses from Earth. I'm guessing there are probably a bunch of non-religious societies out there too, but this novel deals with one religious order in particular and how its approach to sexuality is constricting and quite frankly oppressive. It's fascinating though because the society functions where there are 7 genders, no traditional family unit, and children are born from external uterine machines. So not something we tend to associate with strict religious sex. People live for hundreds of years, and this group doesn't have currency or even that many goods. It seems to be a sort of communism. There are other places that have a barter system, though. The author has a background in astrophysics and astronomy, so there's a lot in here that's hard sci-fi as well as kind of conceptual. He has this whole concept about slowing and speeding up time that I kind of grasped, but I think was also a bit conceptual as well. I thought that was really fascinating. Anyway, it's in terms of narrative skill of the novel, the most impressive thing about it is that you're very much aware that this is a small part of humanity and that while Vanu's actions have ripples, it's very, very big universe. The story is mostly about her being HIR as she, XHE, is gender neutral, but she doesn't use the they singular. It's normalized in the book, and it's not hard to read in the text for people that are worried about that for some reason. A lot of the novel deals with concepts rather than story. This is not a space opera. There's no like pew pew pew. Yet the characters are distinctive and have as much realism as beings thousands or hundreds of thousands of years in the future would have. This is one book that definitely does not rely on telling rather than showing. We learn about Vanu, Shoshi, Joe, and the other characters' personalities from their actions and words, which helped create realistic, relatable characters that you cared for. I found all of them, even though they don't really have a lot of backstory, in that it seems like people in this particular community kind of all have the same kind of life, and that's why Vanu's actions, I think, are perceived as a bit of a threat to the community in that she wants something different, even though she doesn't go out searching for that. It kind of falls in her lap. But yeah, it's a really, really a character driven story as much as a dive into as much as the speculation on the future. The ending dips a bit more into action, which was a nice change of pace and shows that Edwards is capable of exciting prose as well as deep concepts. This section really reminded me of Samuel Delany, actually, a favorite author of mine that I really think you should check out. I have like 6 or 7 of his books up there. So overall, because I don't want to spoil too much, Plenum is an artfully crafted, elegant book, and I think people who have an interest in the conflation of sci-fi and theology would really, really enjoy it. I bent it, I'm sorry. Thank you again to the author for the copy. I wish you all the best with this ambitious, fascinating work. I think I'm actually not smart enough to fully understand it. It's one of those books where reading it, I kind of felt dumb. And that's fine, because I think it's important to read things that are, hard to read. It's funny because I wouldn't say that it's hard to read in that I was confused. It's just, it's so thematically deep. I felt like I was not doing it justice by not taking time to kind of sit and think about it as much. But then again, a lot of the thinking had to do with religious concepts in a sense. I think it's a book that would be cool to chat with someone about, actually. So if you're in like a sci-fi book club that likes to talk about sci-fi books that are a bit more out there, that was kind of a joke, I highly recommend Plenum. Here it is again.